The thing with Emirates that I like, Trevor, more than anything is that their crews are the best, I think, in aviation, personally, especially in first class. They really know how to read a person. They've been either trained or they just happen to hire people who can do this to know how you want to be addressed, how you want to be treated. Some people are more formal and other people are less formal, and they know how to read you and adjust to your comfort level.
Welcome to Travel Stories with your hosts, Tom Kim and Trevor Mountcastle. And gosh, we have second timer Han Chicago on. And if anybody follows Han on Twitter, and if you don't, you need to, then you know that we are in for an incredible show full of more premium products than even I get onto in a particular trip. Han, thank you so much for joining us. I'm just so darn excited for this episode, and I'm not trying to oversell it. This is like I was watching you on Twitter and I had so much FOMO. I was even on my way to Australia and watching you, and I was having FOMO even though I was going to Australia.
It's hard to undersell it. It's hard to undersell it. And this is like your shock and awe trip.
It's funny.
Well played.
It was my kind of last tour of the battlefield trip, to be frank. I kind of put it all out there, honestly, because I don't know when I'm going to get to fly like this again for a while. And I've been saying that for a couple of months now, but this time I really mean it. Like I am going to take a couple more trips in 2025, but this was like the last blowout trip, and I kind of like wanted everything to count, like every bit of it to count. And it really worked out really well.
I don't think you left anything in the chamber.
No, I don't think so either.
All shots fired, man.
Oh my God. And let's just summarize this, and you correct me if I got anything wrong, because I was kind of working off your Twitter feed and a couple of messages that we had. Sure. You had 8 carriers, 9 PMRs, looked like 16 legs. I couldn't even count how many first class products, 2 showers at 40,000 feet. What did I miss on this trip? I mean, it just sounds incredible.
Yeah, in terms of the air, I think you got it right. On the ground, I didn't really do luxury stuff on the ground too much because I wasn't on the ground too much. This all happened. This all happened in about a week, and probably most people wouldn't enjoy this because you're like going from carrier to carrier, but with nice long breaks in lounges in between. So yeah, you've covered the main things. Like I did do first class and business class, I think, for the entire trip. And the icing on top of it was to fly the residents on Etihad, which I had been toying with for years, but I finally decided to actually try it. And I have had a love-hate relationship with Etihad for years.
We all have.
Really, I have.
Welcome to the club.
This was the first time that they actually impressed me and really listened to me. So I can get into that later, though.
Yeah. I love how you just sort of sneaked that or gave that little peek of the Etihad residents. We'll get there soon. We will get there soon. But I just love how you just gave us that little bit of a taste. So let's dive into it and let's look into it. So you gave us some bullets, and I'm just so excited to just dive into them. Sure. What did you start with? I think you started out of Chicago or Detroit?
No, I started out of Detroit. I'm splitting my time nowadays between Detroit and Chicago, and I happen to be.
So you're no longer Han Chicago. You're like Han Chicago
I will always
half
be
Detroit Detroit.
I will always be Han Chicago. I don't think I'm going to change my moniker to Han Detroit, not anytime soon. But no, I'm splitting my time, and it just so happened the award space was good out of Detroit. And I flew Turkish again. Like the last time I was on the show about almost a year ago now. We talked about my first trip to Turkey on Turkish, and it was the exact same route on the exact same product, except that this time.
Wait, so was that the A350 or was that the 787?
No, the 787. So that's what tends to fly out of Detroit. At first, I was going to be in the 777, but they thankfully equipment swapped that. So sometimes that
dodged a bullet.
Favor. Yeah, yeah. So I flew that to Istanbul, and then I had like a 5-hour layover there, and then I think on an A321 Neo from there to Abu Dhabi. So that was the first booking, and that was done with United Miles, 80K UA miles and some US dollars, I think about $15 or so. And that's a pretty good redemption, I think, going all the way to Abu Dhabi, even with United
no
Miles. Yeah. So that was the first one. And what I liked about that one is that I got to not only get to re-experience the lounge in Istanbul, but this time, since I had the long layover and I was flying on Turkish metal on both legs, I was able to book one of their rooms, like their suites or something. I don't know.
Oh, you mean inside the lounge, right?
Inside
like
the lounge.
Rooms?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Very nice.
And I never, I hadn't done that the last time, so I wanted to know what that was like. And
they're usually booked. You usually can't get one.
That's correct. So I was really lucky to get one. Now they were saying, well, this room doesn't have a seat, and because they didn't have a chair in there. And I said, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to sleep in there anyway. So they got me in there, and it was pretty cool. I mean, it's not quite. In some ways, it's nicer than the Qatar Al Safwa rooms, but in many ways, in many ways,
how could it be nicer?
Not as nice. Not quite as nice. Yeah, just like I would say, like the finishes, I like them better in that room, but the Al Safa ones are probably they're still the best because that's first class.
Okay.
All right. So
big question: was there any soda in the Turkish lounge, or are the Turkish still boycotting soda?
Inquiring minds must know.
I think there was some soda. I can't remember now, though. I wasn't my focus, TK. So I'm
sorry. I should have said I need a report on the Diet Coke situation.
I don't think they had Diet Coke, though. No, I remember that because I remember thinking everywhere I went on this trip, I kept thinking of you. Like, do they have actual Diet Coke, or is it just a Coke Zero?
Coke Zero.
And would TK protest? So,
I would take a Coke Zero. I would take a Coke Zero, but they had nothing the last time we were there.
No, I don't think they had any Coke products there, or at least I don't remember. But again, that wasn't my focus.
Okay, so if you were thinking about TK and his Diet Coke, I have to ask, what did they serve on the Turkish flights for bubbles?
Oh, in terms of champagne.
Champagne?
Yeah, I don't remember because I don't really drink that much, as you recall, Trevor.
So you don't drink Diet Coke, you don't drink champagne.
I know, right. It's like a waste.
We're going to have to prepare Han Chicago for the next time he joins this podcast.
No, I did have some Dom, which I will talk about later, but that was not on Turkish. Definitely not. And Turkish, I felt like it was like a redo, so I wasn't really paying attention. I just wanted to sleep. I mean, most times we get excited about getting on these award flights and we want to stay up and do this or that or look at stuff. But this time I just focus on sleeping, which is unusual for me. But that's what I did.
So one thing that you've got in our notes, and I don't know if it was something that you enjoyed in Istanbul or where you arrived in Oman, but you have a particular coffee shop.
Yep, that's right.
And I have to say, I haven't been there.
I thought there were multiple coffee shops.
I can tell you, I haven't been to this chain, and I feel bad because I think this chain exists in Sydney, and at least 2 people told me I needed to go there, and we just didn't make the time to go there. So tell us about, is it Arabica?
It is Arabica with a % symbol in front of it. It's actually not Arabian. I mean, it is like... there are outposts there, but it's actually a Japanese.
It's all Colombian coffee. I'm kidding. We're going to call it Arabica, and it's Colombian coffee, but it's a Japanese business, and
it's a Japanese business originating. Well, the first one was actually made in Hong Kong, and it was made by this Japanese dude. But the headquarters are now in Kyoto, and I don't know. A friend of mine in the community, some may know him. His Twitter handle is avgeekforall. Call him DC. Let's call it. I don't think he wants his full name out there. But anyway, he put me on to this. And when I think we met up in Thailand, in Bangkok, a couple years ago. And I was like, oh, what is this? And I first tried it in Seoul, actually. And I always get this iced Kyoto latte from there. And what's so great about it is it's a little sweet, but not too sweet. And that light, kind of minimalist kind of touch in their coffee, I just really appreciate it. And now I'm not going to say it's not been consistently good across the world, I will say. But in Asia and the Middle East, it's been very, very good. And I always try to seek it out whenever I'm on the road, because in the United States, it's only available in LA and New York. And I did try it also in New York on this trip, and it was definitely not as good. So You should try, Trevor. But you're excused, I think, because you were in Australia and coffee is incredible there, pretty much in any spot. So,
Except for hotels.
okay. Sorry.
I've heard they have a great flat white, although I'm not quite sure what a flat white is.
You don't know what a flat white is? You went to Australia. Did you really go to Australia?
I did, but we didn't. We only went to like 2 coffee shops. Remember, I got a daughter. She doesn't want to sit around coffee shops.
Okay. Fair enough.
And I like wine.
I'm not much of a coffee drinker either,
places.
I have to admit.
TK, you've never tried this?
I have never tried this. It's probably not up my alley. Although, I like a coffee now and again, but it's not a regular beverage for me. Just like champagne.
I'm in the same boat, except champagne is a regular beverage. Folks, if you can't tell, we're having fun. So we're recording this shortly after your trip, Han.
Yeah.
So this will probably actually get published probably a couple of weeks from now, few weeks from now.
Sure.
So none of this is going to be like breaking news.
No.
But the products that you had the experience on really are timeless. And I think that's the evergreen beauty about it.
Yep.
So Turkish, same experiences as you've had. Anything notable?
No, great food, good service,
Did you get your first choice meal?
This time I did. I'm trying to remember what I had, but I had so many different meals on this trip that I can't even remember what I had. But I do remember thinking to myself, okay, am I going to get my first choice? And I did. And everything was just top notch as far as business class goes. Turkish is always solid. I don't think you could really go wrong with them. Yeah, you might not get your first choice, but like the other choice is probably going to be pretty good. I mean, their catering is very well known, and I think they live up to their reputation, honestly.
And they used to have Taittinger champagne. I'm not going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
But when we flew them a year ago, they had Taittinger, and that was wonderful.
And you enjoyed it?
Who doesn't enjoy Taittinger?
Apparently TK and I don't, so...
Pretty sure I'm pretty sure I pressured him into having a glass.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I'm not going to like turn it down or something. Oh, Taittinger. Big swell, No.
It's like the James Bond champagne, that and Bollinger.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Well, I would say PSA, if meal choice matters to you, especially on a Middle Eastern carrier, let them know early.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So then after I was in the Turkish lounge, I went on to Abu Dhabi from there on the A321 Neo. Their business class on that product, though, I have to say, and I forgot the meal on that one too. I mean, it wasn't as long a trip, but it's just basically like U.S. domestic first class.
It's just like regional premium class, not like lie flat or anything.
No, definitely not lie flat, but it was good.
But they have the leg rests and stuff, right?
They did, yeah. They had all that stuff, and it was like definitely a newer plane. Yeah, it was pretty comfortable, and I would say the leg space was much bigger in this product versus, say, a U.S. domestic first class product, because I recently flew United on an A321 Neo, like a newer one in their fleet, and the guy reclined back and he was right in my face still, even in
to get tight. Yeah, the pitch is it could be a little tight on domestic first class.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Did you do a little eyebrow work for him, just out of courtesy?
No, I refrained, but you don't have that problem in Turkish, I have to say, because there's still a lot more space that they give you between you and your neighbor in front. So that was good. And then I arrived in Abu Dhabi, and that was...
Yeah, I feel like we just told us about the amuse-bouche of this trip,
Yeah.
And now you're going into like the first course or something.
That's right. Well, yeah, so then I'm in Abu Dhabi, and then I'm just there a couple hours. I don't have any access to any real lounge. I guess I got access to I think it's called, I forgot what the Priority Pass lounge in Abu Dhabi is. Is it the Pearl? Or maybe I'm mixing that up. It could be something.
Is this the new terminal or the old terminal?
The new terminal. It's in the new terminal. It wasn't anything super fancy. It was fine. It was fine to kill a couple hours in there. And then I flew again. Then I got into Qatar and flew from Abu Dhabi to Doha, and then Doha to Muscat. And I was doing that to position, and I flew that in regional first because I wanted time in Al Safwa in between. Although the first time I didn't spend much time in Al Safwa, so I did this twice. And I'll say that that redemption is 30K miles. That's a lot of AA miles just to fly those 2 legs. But You get that time in the lounge, and there's less friction, at the airport when you're
Mhm.
in a premium cabin, which is actually critical. And I'll explain even more why that would be the case later on. And this time I did get off in Doha and explored a little bit.
Oh, you overnighted? Did you overnight, or did you just have a long layover?
I had a long layover. And I didn't know this, though. Like, I still had to pay something like $20 to get into Qatar, and I don't know why. I didn't think I had to pay something like that, and I don't know if I got scammed or not from immigration, but I paid it because it's like, you can't come in unless you pay $20, so I did. And I just I rode their metro, and, their metro is really cool. I think, Trevor, didn't you ride their metro, or were you? No, you taxied it. Or did you?
Yeah, we taxied it. And in fact, that when we taxied it, Ubered it, we got scammed or almost scammed, and they wasted a half hour of our time.
Oh, man.
As we walked to the garage, and he's like, "Oh, no. You just pay me cash." I said, No. I'm going back.
I metroed it the last time I was there on my way to the Park Hyatt, which is very convenient, by the way, from the metro.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I just did it to check out the library. That's not really a nerdy thing to do, but they have quite a new library there, a national library. I wanted to check it out. I had been there to check out the Museum of Islamic Art, I think, and then there's also their National Museum. Both are incredible museums, and I would say Doha is worth visiting for their kind of these national structures. More so than any of the other. I would say more so than in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Personally, for me, I think Doha is better in that regard. So I just did that. I went out there just to check it out, and then I came back and then hung out in the lounge, and then I was back on to Muscat, where I met up with some friends who are living there. So, yeah.
I feel like Qatar has more culture. I mean, Abu Dhabi, I think, has culture, but they also have kind of the fun stuff like the Ferrari world and stuff.
Yeah.
But Qatar has that Islamic Art Museum and some of the other cultural stuff that, I mean, I don't think you're going to find in Dubai. So I think that's really cool that you made the time to do that. So tell us about Oman, or Muscat, I should say.
Yeah, Muscat. Yeah, so Muscat. Okay, let me add something here. This trip, I realized I was revisiting 3 places where I got sick in the past and previous trips. And Muscat was definitely one of the trips where I got food poisoning from something I ate at some restaurant. And then I also ended up in Thailand for a day. And then also I was in Turkey briefly, right? So those are the 3 countries where I got sick on previous travels. But anyway, this time I was only in Muscat for, I would say, I don't know, 10 hours tops. And I met up with some friends who are living there, and we had dinner. And it's a beautiful country. It's a little different, not as blingy as the other kind of countries nearby, or at least Muscat isn't compared to like Dubai or Abu Dhabi. But my friends did actually end up taking me to this lovely kind of mall area, open air, and we had coffee there, and we just talked, and it was good to catch up with them. I hadn't seen them since actually they had gotten married. So, yeah.
I hear good diving or snorkeling in Muscat.
That's right. Yeah, if you have the time, if you have more than just the 10 hours that I did, you should go swimming, whether it's in the ocean. There's also these things called wadis, which are kind of like, I don't know,
springs or something?
Yeah, springs. There's massive springs that you can go to and like swim and have, relaxing times in. But I haven't done that yet. I will hope to get to do that at some point. I know you can go and swim with like the sea turtles and even whale sharks. I think Nick from FM.
That's right. That's what I heard it from.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. He did that a couple years ago. So yeah, that's one of the things I aspire to, but not on this trip.
For relaxing times, wadi times.
Yes,
right. I see you're not the only one that picked up on that, huh?
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yes.
There's another continent, though. There's another continent.
Yeah, so...
Hey, we got to have fun with this, right?
Yeah, for sure. So then, after I met up with my friends, they dropped me back off at the airport, and then I was flying this time Oman Air Business on a 787 from Muscat to Bangkok. And
this is the Apex suite? Is that what Oman does?
Right. That's correct. Yeah, good.
Okay.
Well, of course you know your stuff. So this is
I have to interrupt you. And
yes.
I remember a bad experience on Oman Air last time you flew. Am I wrong?
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, my history with Oman Air. Okay.
Way to pour some salt in the wound there.
Oman Air, I've flown them 3 times in the past couple of years. And the first time I had booked first class with them with Aeroplan. And it was supposed to go from Muscat to, I believe, Frankfurt. But for some reason, there was an equipment swap, which often happens. And so first class wasn't on the plane that I was going to be on. Moreover, they would not let me on, even as a business class passenger, on that flight. And I could not reach Aeroplan. And Aeroplan, you can't reach Aeroplan because they're not 24/7, which is insane to me. I don't understand that. I think that's the worst. I think all loyalty programs should have 24-hour call centers because you're flying globally. So what's the point of that? That doesn't make any sense. So anyway, yeah, I got stranded and then I had to find my way home in economy, and that was brutal. But
Better experience this time?
much better. Back in the summer, I had actually flown first class with them before they got rid of it. They officially don't have first class anymore. They retired it. So they still have the hard product, but it's like, a business suite or something. And this time it was I was still in the Apex suite this time to go to Bangkok, and it was excellent. They do a really good job too. I would say, Ben Omat Schlappig, he recently took them off his best business class list. And I can see why, because he's had very mixed experiences based on his reviews. But on
That
my
was soft
side,
product reasons, right? Not hard product reasons.
that's right. It was soft product, yeah. And someone was telling him, okay, I didn't do something wrong, but they did, and they were lying or whatever. I don't want to speak for him. You can read the story. But I didn't have anything like that on this trip, and it was overnight, so there's less chance of things going wrong. It's mostly
You're
dark
asleep
cabin.
most of the time.
Yeah, and Apex seat, I don't really. It's still a nice seat, but I think it's it's old, right?
It's a lot of real estate for business class, though, right? Like from a
That's true.
space perspective.
If you got a
Have
Windows,
you tried it on Korean? Have you tried the Korean Apex suite?
I haven't tried it on Korean. That's the only one where I haven't tried it on. I've tried it on JAL,
Okay.
and I've
Oh,
tried
you have tried the JAL Apex suite. Okay.
Yeah, the JAL was pretty good. I've tried it on Gulf Air also. Gulf Air was the worst, but that was probably because of soft product reasons.
Okay.
Yeah. I still find it challenging to find storage,
Good
like
point.
to put stuff in. Like
there's not like a good surface.
No.
There's not a lot of surface for you to put stuff on.
That's correct. So that's my only little tiny gripe with it. But if you can get a window seat, it's really good. You could, and for people like Trevor, who's really tall, I think he's much taller than we are. TK. I mean, because I know I've met you, TK, in person. Trevor, I have not. Yeah, like I think Trevor would love a window seat.
I do love my window seats, and yes, it's funny that you say that, and I know we're going to get to the Emirates A380F in a moment, but I definitely found that my feet and my head were both hitting the different bulkheads in that particular seat. So yes, I do like a little extra space.
Okay, cool.
You mean in the Apex seat or in some other seat?
No, Emirates A380 First Class seat.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay.
I don't know how the Apex seat is. Hopefully it's longer, but I definitely felt crunched, I'll say, on the A380 seat. So you flew Oman to Bangkok. Where did you go from Bangkok?
So in Bangkok, I was there just one day hanging out. Again, really nerdy thing. I went to a mall. So I went to a library, and then I went to a mall. So it's like I'm reliving my.
Hey, I love the malls in Bangkok. Those are great places to go.
Yeah,
great air conditioning too.
Yeah, the mall I was targeting was Icon CM, kind of the newer one on the side of the river that most people don't go to as much in Bangkok.
So that's the opposite side of the river then from most of the things.
That's correct. Yeah. So
did you take a boat, or is there a subway, or how do you get there?
You can take a subway for part of it, but you have to walk some of it. And there's like a bridge, and you can just walk over it. It happened to be not crazy hot for a change in Bangkok, so it was fine for me. You can take a boat too, but I did not do that for whatever reason. I can't remember why now. So I hung out there for most of the day, and I ate there. There's a lot of like food court things there, and I wasn't trying, again, because given my food poisoning issues in the past, I was trying to like minimize my risk. Like this is like a short trip, and I was trying to like stay safe. So I was eating the mall food. And I think they've moved a lot of street food vendors into those malls and kind of cleaned up stuff and, made the standards higher for cleanliness and stuff like that. So it's good.
Yeah, but those, I feel like malls in Thailand, that's an easy experience to have street food-ish food, but it's a little bit safer. And I almost feel like that's like the better call than like trying to go out to a restaurant in Bangkok. I mean, you can
I
get
agree.
such great variety and such great food there.
You can actually have a place to sit and eat your food instead of like eating it in the middle of the street.
I mean, that too. Yeah, right.
Yeah. I agree with you on that one. Yeah, so I just hung out there. I actually did go to Ippudo there, so I did have some Japanese ramen as well and hung out. But then I was back to the Middle East. This is how crazy it is. Like I'm actually like kind of positioning to Bangkok to fly Emirates, which is kind of insane. So then the next part was Emirates first in the A380 from Bangkok to Dubai, and then from Dubai to Kuwait. I only added that on at the end because I wanted to fly in the Game Changer, and the Game Changer happens to fly in that short route.
Wow, what a short flight for F. That must be one of the shortest.
It's really weird, yeah. So, but when you do it all in one award from Bangkok to Kuwait, technically, there's some mile savings there and some cash savings. So that's why I did.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine. Was it an award ticket or was it a cash ticket? Oh, hey.
It was award.
Yeah. So what were the vitals around that award?
Okay, so to do that award from Bangkok to Dubai to Kuwait and first, it was 118,500 EK miles plus, unfortunately, $700. So
okay,
not great, but not terrible for what that is. At least not in my book. I don't know. You could squint and make anything look okay. So
it's two segments on two different Emirates First products, so including the Game Changer. So I'm not making any criticism. It sounds good to me.
Yeah, and then I had about an hour in the lounge at Dubai First Class. Now it wasn't in. I think Terminal B is the main one, if I'm not mistaken. And I think I was in Terminal C, but it's still first class. It's just not as large as the main one.
It doesn't like have the entire terminal, or
it does not have the entire terminal. No.
So that's the lounge that like you go up and you go right to first and left to business?
Not that one. So what happened was this. When I got to...
No.
Go ahead.
I only know two lounges.
There are multiple first class lounges at DXB. And you're thinking of the main one that's probably, I think, in Terminal B. I think I'm remembering this correctly. And
no. So you're in Dubai and you're heading to the lounge. How did you get there and what was your lounge experience?
Okay, so what happened was I only had about maybe 90 minutes in Dubai to make the connection. But someone had my name, with the placard, and they grabbed me. So I'm jumping on a cart and they're driving me to the first class lounge. So I'm kind of disoriented by that point. I don't know where I am, where I'm going. And I'm like, are we going to the main lounge? And I think of the main lounge as the one that's like terminal wide, right? And they said, no, you're not going to that one. And I think that one's in Concourse B. And so I think they took me to Concourse C, where I think it's a different lounge. And I think, Trevor, you've described that as the open air lounge for first class.
So two interesting experiences with that lounge. And I'll say the first and then I'll let TK say the second because he was with me at the second. So the first experience, I took my father and my brother overseas. We ultimately went to Australia, but we were flying to Singapore on Emirates. And we're using the restroom just before we're headed to our gate in that open air lounge. And I'm walking into the restroom. I see now deceased Senator McCain, John McCain.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wearing the Navy hat.
Yeah.
I mean, like, literally, this is the man.
Yeah.
Nothing political. Just saw him, wanted to say something, but we were in the restroom. And by the time we all got out, he either was still in there or had departed.
Yeah.
But it was something for me to just see the man in the flesh. Just given the Hanoi Hotel and everything. And
Oh, yeah.
It was a really cool experience. And that was one experience. I'm going to pass it over to Tom to share the other experience, which happened to include some expensive wine.
Was that the one we went to? I thought we were in a different concourse.
No, sir.
We were in C?
So we were in the full terminal lounge when we went on the episode 8 guys trip. But when we flew to, ironically enough,
to Frankfurt?
We flew to Berlin.
For Berlin.
Via Dubai and Frankfurt. We were in the lounge that Han had been. And you had found this really expensive red wine. And I don't even
I
love
keep
red
an eye out for
wine.
those expensive red wines.
Yeah, go ahead.
They just, sometimes they say, oh, special, they were featuring a wine, and I looked it up, and I forget how much it was. It was a very expensive bottle of wine. It was like hundreds of dollars a bottle or something. I think it was like Chateau Margaux or something like that. And I was like, okay, we're having some of this.
We had a bottle at least. I might have had another couple of glasses.
And I'm got
not
our money's
a
worth.
huge red wine fan, but I mean, when somebody tells me, "Hey, expensive,"
it was. I think this was an expensive bottle of wine.
Nice. Well, Trevor, your story about John McCain reminds me that I did actually have a celebrity sighting during this trip, but not like that nice or that memorable. I did see Steve Harvey on one of my Qatar flights, and
Steve Harvey. Wow,
that's a random one.
It was random.
Did you talk to him?
No, I did recognize him though, and he was just in a regional first flight with me in Qatar, and he was there, I think, with his daughter. Wasn't sure, but I knew it was him for sure because I was like, "Is that Steve Harvey for sure?" But then, as we were getting off the plane and we were gonna get in one of those Qatar buses, he had a special car for himself and his companion. So, and they had placards like, Steve Harvey, welcome Steve Harvey. So I was like, oh, okay.
So I suppose survey said private vehicle.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Oh, wow.
How do we recover?
You're going to get it in stereo on this podcast.
Okay, yeah.
You got to have fun with this, right?
Right.
I mean, it just lends itself, right? I mean, it was just too perfect. Okay, if you can't tell, we're having fun. That's the point of these podcasts, right? We're having fun.
All right, so back to the Emirates, right?
Where
were we? I don't know. I was in Dubai.
Well, you're in the lounge in Dubai.
Dubai, yeah,
and you got the great ground service, right? You got the carts. I mean,
yeah,
that's always
yeah.
I had the cart. It's all the people who have to walk on the ground, with your 2 feet, not for us.
You're the concierge key if you were in America.
Yeah, okay. No, but it's definitely a nice touch, and the food, of course, in the lounge is great. I mean, they make a good steak in the Dubai First Class.
Agreed.
Wagyu, no less, right?
Yeah, one of the better steaks, I would say, in aviation.
On a 90-minute visit, no less, you were able to have a nice steak in the lounge.
It's crazy. So then I'm making my way to the Game Changer, and I've flown the Game Changer, I don't know, something like 7 years ago, close to when it debuted, and I flew that out of Sri Lanka to Dubai, and then Dubai to, I think it was...
I'm jealous. I haven't had the privilege yet for the Game Changer.
Nor have I, but let's just cover what the Game Changer is, right? So
yeah,
Emirates has really probably probably more than 3 first-class products, right? They have what's the most popular is the A380, where there's a door. It doesn't go all the way up to the top, and you have the shower, all that other fun stuff. What they did was they released for the 777, and I don't know if this is the 777 all or just the 777-300ER, where they have a 1-1-1 configuration. And correct me if I'm getting anything wrong here, Han, where you've got window, aisle, window, and that one in the aisle, the middle, they actually have cameras on the outside of the 777 aircraft.
Yep.
So that they can replicate a window view, even though you're in the middle of the aircraft.
No, it's really cool. It's really cool because the middle one has more space than the window ones, right? Because just the way the fuselage is, right? But then you still have the window experience with these virtual windows. So continue. Sorry. It just...
No. I was just setting the stage. So you've flown A380 and you've flown Game Changer. What's the differences? I mean, obviously the simulated window is one. The added space is another.
Yes. Yep.
Is there anything different in the service? Is there anything else different in the seat?
For me, I think the service is a little worse. And here's why. Because they have to kind of like knock at the door and kind of like, there's like more barriers for them to actually interact with you in a sense. Because the Game Changer is so private. Like you can really literally lock them out of your room if you wanted to. Now, I couldn't do that on the short 1 hour or so flight, but you can theoretically do that. but the service is just as good, and the food obviously is just as good, and maybe sometimes it's better. But the thing with Emirates that I like, Trevor, more than anything, is that their crews are the best, I think, in aviation, personally, especially in first class. They really know how to read a person. They've been either trained or they just happen to hire people who can do this to know how you want to be addressed, how you want to be treated. Some people are more formal and other people are less formal, and they know how to read you and adjust to your comfort level. And I don't find that on Etihad consistently. I don't find that even consistently on Qatar Airways. And I certainly don't find that in the Asian carriers, where some of them can't even speak English, frankly, or not English very well. So I think Emirates really shines in that way. And I kind of want to have interactions with the crew, and anything that kind of prevents me from doing that kind of, to me, takes away from the product. But that's just me. Now, I'm not giant like you, so an A380 suite is more than enough space for me, and I find that very comfortable. And I love the shower suites on the A380. And yes, it's probably the most vlogged product out there. So people might be skeptical, or they might be tired, or it might just seem like a tiresome, played out, cliched thing. But really, the A380 EK product for me is still one of the best in the business. And I'm privileged to have flown it a couple times now, and I'll seek it out again. Because, and usually a lot of things I don't really like repeat, because I'm kind of like, as you could probably tell, like I'm a product geek, so I want to like try a lot of different things. But with EK First and A380, I'll keep trying that until the A380s are gone from the earth.
Yeah,
hopefully that's not anytime.
I would agree that A380 Emirates is a joy. Although I might be a little controversial and say I've actually not had super comfortable sleep in the A380 suite. I find that the seat's a little, for whatever reason of where things line up for me personally. It's a little lumpy for me for some reason, or it's like uncomfortable when it goes into flat mode. So I don't know if you think the 777 Game Changer is more comfortable, or is it just pretty much the same from a seat mechanics perspective?
The seat mechanics is probably going to be more comfortable because it's
more modern, right? It also has
more modern,
more climate and the lighting controls and things, right?
That's right. Yeah, you can control the lights, you can control the temperature within your room. There's a lot more customized capability in there. But the thing about it is, some of it does seem a little like more flash than substance, I guess.
Well, that kind of comes with Emirates, right?
I suppose so, but even more so with the Game Changer.
Yeah. Oh, the Game Changer is even more blingy than the standard A380F.
In some ways.
Do they still have the writing kit?
Yes, they do.
Oh, I love that writing kit.
All that stuff they have, and maybe even more so in there, because there's more space for them to, store items in there for you to take. And God knows, I rated that stuff. Like I took the chocolates and all the other little goodies in there, and
of course you did,
pens and whatever. And then
they give you a bag. They give you a bag.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
They're inviting you to take it. They're inviting you.
Yeah, no.
That pen, though, I love that pen. That is probably one of my most favorite keepsakes from Emirates. I use that pen fairly frequently. I don't write a lot, but when I write something special, if it's a thank you card or other, I pull that pen out with that beautiful brown leather, handle area. It's one of those small things, and it just endears me to the airline. Like, it doesn't even make logical sense, but it endears me to the airline, and it makes me want to go experience that again.
But we've talked about this before, or I've heard about this from you guys and maybe some different podcasts where, also the slippers, right? Those distinctive slippers.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think anyone else provides. That's almost like, it's not just a standard slipper, but
one-time use.
You have the heel kind of covered too, and your ankles as well. So it's
actually, the last time I got slippers from Emirates, they didn't cover the heel, but they were big enough that they actually fit my shoe or my foot.
Okay.
So it sounds like they've upgraded their slippers.
I think they have. Yeah.
Now, Tom.
He's getting out his aeroplane. He's doing an EK.
We need to slot this in, Tom. We need to slot this in.
Oh, God.
You can go to Bogota or whatever. You can do a Fifth Freedom if you wanted.
I could do Miami, but
Okay, so we're all joking about that, but like
Yeah.
while we were talking about the Game Changer, I actually Googled and it looks like the Bogota flight does not leverage the Game Changer seat.
oh
No,
damn.
no, unfortunately.
so,
Yeah.
so just so our listeners know, like we're literally like, searching this stuff to validate what the options are.
No one's surprised. No one's surprised. They're like, of course you are. Of course you are.
I mean, there's a lot of 777s, unfortunately, that still have the old product in it.
Yeah.
And it is a
Wah,
little weird to
wah,
call
wah.
something a game changer after 7 years. It's kind of sad, actually, if you think about it.
But the rollout's been very slow, right? The number of
Oh, yeah.
actual aircraft configured with it are still pretty small, considering how many 777s they have at Emirates.
That's
right?
correct. Yeah, I don't know why they haven't done that. And maybe they were saving that to put on the 777X whenever they get
That's
that
blame
from,
Boeing.
yeah, from
Further
yeah.
delayed, I hear today,
Yeah.
even.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that's sad.
Oh, wow.
Okay, let's get past Emirates.
Yep.
I mean, we love Emirates. We all
Yep.
love Emirates, and
Yep.
they've got great stuff. I'm trying not to oversell this, but I just have to oversell this. So you are the third person I know, and
Yeah.
only perhaps. I mean, I've chatted with Lucky Ben
Mhm.
Schlapeg.
Oh,
I've
nice.
chatted with him in person. I met him
Oh,
in
wow.
person.
Great.
So I'm just going to say you're the second person that I know, and I'm just based on the amount of time we've spent on podcasts, and we're doing video here. We're not going to share it when we publish, but we're eye to eye here.
Yeah.
You are the second person that I have seen face to face that has flown Etihad residence, and I mean, I'm flabbergasted about it, and I just can't wait to hear you share how that experience was, how you were able to do that, and really just get your thoughts here.
Okay. Well, it's often called the pinnacle of commercial aviation, right? Because it's an apartment plus you get this separate bedroom and your own shower and your own lav, everything. It's just really.
It's
like,
more than some people in New York get, right?
Oh,
You got a bathroom, you got
Yes.
a living room, and you got a bedroom.
That's correct. Let me caveat this though. Like when you talk to Ben, Ben flew it, as far as I know from his blog. I've never had the pleasure of meeting Ben. He flew it pre-pandemic, and it was a different product pre-pandemic. It was a lot more expensive, a lot more exclusive, and a lot more customizable. You could request a bunch of things for your trip in a way that I don't think they really allow anymore. Now, I'm not going to say that what I experienced was therefore lesser, or maybe it was, but like I have nothing to compare it against. I would say this is definitely one of the best flights I've taken, but it did start off a little rough. Now, even with the booking, I booked this many months before, and when I called EK to call just to inquire, like, how do you do this? A lot of their people are not trained. Their call center people aren't trained on how to book this correctly. Now, you could just do it all
And
online.
just for clarity,
Yeah.
it's Etihad, not EK.
Oh, sorry.
EY.
Right?
Pardon me.
Yeah.
EY. Yes, you're right.
Sorry.
EY.
Just for our listeners,
No,
want to make sure.
you're right. I messed that up because we were just talking about Emirates. So EY, I'm calling the call center, and they're like, "Oh no, you can't. You can only upgrade, a couple days in advance if it's available to you, the residents. You book your first class, and that's what you can do." I'm like, "That's not what I read online. Are you sure about this?" And they said, "Yes, that's what it is." I'm like, "Nah." So I ended up booking online Etihad, and when you do that, you can book it right there and then. Like if it's open, you could book it right there and then, and the surcharge is $2,000. So if you're going from London, going to Abu Dhabi to London, that's the surcharge.
So you're Abu Dhabi to London.
Mm-hmm.
You booked originally, I guess, Etihad apartments on points.
Yes, on points. And that was $140K from Abu Dhabi to London using Etihad Guest. And you can only do it with Etihad Guest because they won't allow you to go to the residence via an AA booking or some other booking.
So 140,000 Etihad Guest to get to London, and then another 2,000 to be able to upgrade to the residence.
That's right. Yep. And you can make up to 2,000 via Capital One miles. You can go that route, or there's other ways to kind of make that more of a miles booking versus a cash booking, because $2,000 is a lot of money for a 6-7 hour flight or however long it was.
But just for clarity, so
Yeah.
Etihad wanted the dollars, and then you could just kind of remove or burn points as a statement credit.
Yeah. If you booked it with Capital One miles or with a Capital One card, you could purchase erase that later. I mean,
Okay,
that's a lot of miles. Yeah.
No. Totally
Yeah.
agree. I just want to make sure that we present for our listeners. This is $2,000 on your card, and then if you want to erase that charge, you can do so with miles however you want. But it's not that you can just throw an additional $2,000 worth of Etihad miles or anything else.
They do allow you to upgrade with Etihad miles, but it's way more than what it would be worth for $2,000. I don't remember what it is. Yeah, I don't know what that is, but it's a lot, and it's not proportional.
So not a good value, in other words.
Yeah, and I also forgot to mention, when you just booked the apartments for 140K Etihad guest miles, there's still the YQ to pay, and I forgot what that was. That was a couple $100. So it's all in. It was 140K and about, I think, 2,300, because I'm also including the YQ in there. So
it's probably cheaper than leaving London, right? Flying into London without the UK departure tax, I would imagine.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, and plus you want to do it out of Abu Dhabi because you want to have all the lounge experience and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, you got a massage there, I think. Did you get a meal?
Yep. Private
and you
room.
went out of the new terminal, right?
That's right. Yeah, I'm in the new terminal.
How was that lounge?
So that lounge, I kind of like the old lounge better. In terms of the first class. I think the business class lounge in the new terminal is obviously way better than the old one. I only saw the old one in pictures, but from what I know, it was always crowded and it didn't seem that great. But the old first class lounge had a lot of character, and I know that the residence rooms that they had definitely a lot more character. These rooms are more like modern hotel rooms, like the private rooms that you get when you're a residence customer. And yeah, they're comfortable. They're nice. You get your own private bathroom in there. They made up the couch so I could just like take a nap in there because I got there super early, and it was really good. Now, I have to say though, Etihad, we got off to a bad start because one of the people making up the bed, they just like barged into the room without knocking. And I was just like, what? Dude, like, you don't know what I was doing in here. Like, luckily I wasn't doing anything.
There's nothing like customer service, like just barging right in.
Just barged right in. But fortunately, later on, the head lead attendant there, I won't share her name, but she was really good. She came by and said, is there anything like, you have any feedback for me? And I said, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy who's complaining about little things, but like this actually did bother me. And I wouldn't expect this from the residence experience. And she absorbed that, took that in, and she really listened. And I was like, look, I've been flying Etihad here and there for many years now. And every level of service, every cabin, like from economy to business to first class and now to the residence, I've always had some kind of issue with you guys. And I don't know why that is. I don't really, have these kind of issues with other airlines, your competitors like Emirates. And she was very like listening. She's like, okay, yeah, no, I see why that was a problem. We'll talk to that attendant and we'll address that. And I was like, okay, well, I appreciate you listening even to me. And she's like, well, we appreciate you giving the feedback. And I felt that was genuine. And that was like the first time in any time with Etihad where I was like, oh, they actually listened to me. And I was like, okay, now we can have a good time. And they actually, like, I got in a conversation with her. She was showing me around all the parts of the first class lounge. And we got to talking about when it was my birthday recently, and it happened to be the same as her son's birthday. And I think it got into her head, and then like gave me a birthday cake, like a little delicious birthday cake, and had people come in and sing happy birthday to me, which was like not something I was expecting, definitely not from Etihad, and just really turned my impression around about the airline. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it could just take a superstar employee like that to just turn around.
Good recovery, right?
Yeah, it only takes one.
Yeah. And I really, really appreciated that. And it continued on into the airplane, like before when Ben was on the residence, they had like a Savoy trained butler, who would serve you.
Right.
Oh, wow.
They don't have that now. It's just another regular attendant. And that's fine. She was fine.
I love how you say that. Yeah, they don't have that anymore.
They don't have that anymore. You're not going to get that for $2,000. You're not gonna, or whatever, So the product is not as differentiated from the apartment in that sense. And I don't think even the food is that much different than what the apartment people will get. So that's how they kind of cost cut it. But they want people in there. But I mean, obviously the hard product is so incredible that the premium is worth it. And they do like escort you everywhere, whether that's in Abu Dhabi. Then even when you get to London, they escort you to where you need to go as far as customs.
I mean, you kind of expect that.
Oh, for sure.
It takes so little. And I mean, if I was paying for the residence, I'd expect that.
Yeah. And then I did have car service backing up back in Abu Dhabi. They did give, as long as you set it up 24. Bit. Yeah. As long as you set it up 24 hours in advance, you can get that. And that there was some snafus with that too, in terms of like they're communicating with their chat team versus their phone team. So again, there's all these little things that I think airlines can do to like just communicate with each other and make that less stressful for the customer, thinking, oh, they're not going to come when they told me they're going to come because this guy has different information.
It's all about removing friction.
That's right.
I think that's something that we talk about on this podcast probably far more than most. It's how can you remove friction in your travel experience? And in doing that residence upgrade, you're demonstrating you're willing to pay money to remove the friction. You want as smooth an experience as you possibly can.
That's right.
And they need to deliver that.
Now, they didn't start out well, I have to say, like with the customer calls and then this attendant just barging in the room, but they recovered very strongly. And I would fly them again. Now, am I going to do the residence again? Probably not, or at least not anytime soon, because it is pretty costly. But I'm glad I did it once. And if you're really into this stuff, I think you kind of have to try it once. It's just one of those things.
I'm jealous. It's amazing to hear that it can be done and that it is expensive, but it's obviously in the realm of possibility for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I was standing by and I was just kind of hearing it. Everything resonates really well because, I think Trevor and I both kind of echo the same thoughts you had of traveling with Etihad over the years. And I kind of almost wonder if it's a volume thing where, you look at Emirates, right? And you look at how many first class seats are they staffing a day with how many flight attendants and how many opportunities do they have to get it right and fix things? Because I can't imagine that Emirates doesn't make as many mistakes. I just think that they probably just had more opportunities to fix those mistakes over time. And there are just so many more seats, right? If you just think of how many 380s and 777s and things that are flying in and out of Dubai versus Abu Dhabi, whereas, residence is still a very, very niche product, right? I mean, like what itineraries is it? It's London, Abu Dhabi, and is there even another route now that's still doing residences at this point?
Right now, it's Abu Dhabi to London, Abu Dhabi to Paris, and Abu Dhabi to New York. Those are the three.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to bring
3 options.
Bring Abu Dhabi to Singapore, I think might be the next one.
At some point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where it's
And it's almost a product that, it's risen from the ashes, right? Because, this was the A380 fleet having been grounded for years. And only, in recent years has it come back, as the return to flying and kind of revenge travel and aircraft delays and things have forced all these A380 carriers to actually bring back A380s, which I'm not complaining. I love it. It's great. But, part of this, you have to put the perspective of this was a product that was absolutely put in the, if not in the graveyard, it was put in the hospice,
That's
and
correct.
has made a miraculous recovery.
No, so when it came back, I was like, all right, I mean, do I do this? Or do I give EY another chance to break my heart or disappoint me or annoy me? And how much is that going to cost me? But I'm glad I took the risk, and they delivered. They really did. And I don't think the shower in EY is as nice as the EK one.
Right. Definitely not.
I love that you brought that up because I was going to comment. So I have a interesting story. So I've flown Etihad A380 apartments twice. One time I flew the route that you flew, Abu Dhabi to London. And my God, that is the worst flight that is perhaps one of the worst premium flights I've ever had, because you're trying to maximize. First of all, you're leaving at like 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
And you're trying to maximize. You want to have the nice meal. You want to have all the nice champagne. And you want to take the shower, and it's only 7 hours. Like, there is no time for sleep. There just isn't any time for sleep. So I had a really bad experience there. I mean, it was a great experience, but like I just got off that flight, like I felt poorly. I'll say it that way to keep it clean.
Yeah.
I also flew it from Sydney to Abu Dhabi, and we had an incredible butler. There was nobody in the residence. He was an Australian. He was awesome. He was the one that made the experience. The chef was not very good. The flight attendants only did things when the butler asked. And the butler literally pleaded with me. He said, "You really want to take a shower?" Like, and I don't think it was because I smelled. I mean, I'm pretty sure I showered before I went to the airport. He says to me, he's like, "I can give you, what is it? They give you 5 minutes or 8 minutes." He gave me double. So he gave me 10 minutes in the shower. And I'm like, okay, fine. If you're giving me 10 minutes, fine, I'll do it. But that shower is just so that shower is just so tiny.
It is cramped. It is cramped.
Yeah.
And I'm smaller. Okay, so I think our listeners probably at this point know I'm smaller than you, Tom, but I still have wide shoulders.
Maybe in the vertical direction. I don't know about in the around direction, The cylinder that is me might be a little bit bigger than the cylinder that is you.
Right, but I still have reasonable shoulders. And it makes it really tight. I mean, I'm not going to say it's not as tight as others might have.
Hey, make the sacrifice. You're still having a shower in the air. I mean, come on.
Yes. No, so true. So I did the shower for the 10 minutes and I enjoyed it. I won't disagree, but it just felt like so less luxurious than the Emirates shower.
Yeah.
The Emirates A380 shower just feels magnitudes more luxurious. I don't know if they have a little bit of room extra or if it's because it's all white and light colors versus
because it's all the space
very dark.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why you have the residence, right? Because they chose to use all that space for the extra bedroom and all the other stuff rather than use it for the spa suite.
I disagree with that 100%.
Really? Okay, disagree.
Yeah. Okay, residence is on the left side of the aircraft.
Yeah.
Why couldn't they have done a spa suite on the right side? Instead, they did a lav and then a lav with a shower, right? Like they could have done an Emirates style spa suite on the right side of the aircraft and given a bigger shower. And Han, you correct me if I'm wrong, because this is going back 5-7 years.
Yeah.
My recollection is that for the apartments on the right side of the aircraft, they actually have two lavs. They have one with a shower and one without, rather than one with a shower and extra space up in that nose like Emirates.
I think you're right. Because even if you go on Qatar Airways A380 in first class, now they don't have the shower in there at all, right? And then in Singapore suites, right? They're A380. Their bathrooms or their lavs are massive, and you don't have that massive lav in Etihad in any part of the first class experience.
Yep.
I think you're right, Trevor, that they decided not to maximize that space for a luxurious large lav, and I don't know why they decided to do that, whereas most others.
My guess is that they felt they needed to have two lavs for the apartments, and they weren't going to do one aft cabin.
Okay.
And so they condensed everything and it just made for a much poorer experience. That's my guess. Yeah. I mean, I don't have any insight.
That makes sense.
I see what I see.
No, I think you're right. And the residents, that's the repercussion of the residents. And I guess you're right. They could have gone with one luxurious lav for everyone else, but they didn't want to do that. So that makes sense.
So let's dive in. You made it to London.
Mm-hmm.
You did something, in my opinion, that I think is awesome. I mean, obviously you had some destination type experiences. We'll jump to that at the end for any highlights.
Yeah.
But you've done something that I've wanted to do for a long time. And every opportunity I have in London, I never have the chance to lounge hop. So talk us through the lounge hopping experience in Terminal 3. Please.
Okay, and that's a good terminal to lounge hop in, right? There's a lot of lounges in Terminal 3.
Oh, yeah. So either you have some kind of high one world status, which I do not have, or you just have a first class ticket on a one world carrier. And I happen to book for $99K AA First Class from London to JFK, but by way of Miami. And that was just the maximized flight time, right? So when you do that, there's just so many lounges in T3. You know, people often talk about lounge hopping, you know, and if you want bubbles, you can get any kind of, you know, there's a lot of good bubbles. Now, I'm not a big drinker, so I didn't really partake too much of that, but you got the AA lounge there.
Did you remember what the bubbles on offer were for any of the lounges?
I'm terrible. Probably no, I didn't. I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's fine.
Hey, Trevor, you'll have to find out for yourself.
You got to find out for yourself, or you could hit up, you know, Speedbird Julie. You know, she was.
I'm sure somebody could tell you. Sure somebody could tell you.
Yeah, definitely a shout out to Julie, Speedbird Julie. She is incredible. I don't know that she's a listener of the podcast. If she is, it would be an incredible compliment if she was.
Yeah, she actually helped me a lot on while I was in the lounge, because when you're in lounges, you often don't know.
Did you actually have the chance to meet her?
I did not meet her. No, we almost met a couple times in different parts of the world. She came to Chicago once, and we were supposed to meet up, but I was actually in Detroit that weekend, so I couldn't meet up. And the Av Geek for All, who I mentioned, I've met him in DC. I've met him in Bangkok, and we've met in London as well. So,
and I followed him and his coffee. He is helping me to ramp up my coffee game, but I guess I'm not there yet.
Yeah, no, he's an expert in coffee and many other things. But so both of those folks were helping me navigate the lounges, because you don't know what you don't know, right? Like, I don't know. Like, I know some things about these lounges from reading blogs, but there's a lot of things that I don't. Like, for instance, like I was in the BA lounge. There's a sign there that says, like, you know, first class BA customers only, but Julie said, well, you have a first class AA ticket. You can still go in there, just to show that to them. And I did, and they let me in there, and I had a great breakfast in there, sit down with the tablecloth and everything. And if I had not known these folks, this is why I'm saying, like, you need to make friends in the community, like people who know stuff. Like, I don't know that. There's no way I would ever know this stuff. I would not have even thought to even ask. But given what the sign said, it was like, oh, I'm an AA first class. I'm not allowed in there. But she said, just show them your ticket and they'll let you in. And that's what happened.
Incredible.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there having a great breakfast I wouldn't have had otherwise, and just relaxing and taking in the views of the tarmac. And it's just great. So that was one highlight. The other two that people really like to talk about is the Qantas Lounge. And you could have the squid there, the well-known squid. It's probably not as good as what you had in Sydney, but it was pretty good to me. And then
their signature salt and pepper squid.
That's right.
You know, it's funny. We were just talking about that on the last podcast, and I didn't even realize that Qantas had a lounge in London, and it makes complete sense.
Yeah,
it makes complete sense, and they really do just such a great job. Did you go there during breakfast time or no?
It was breakfast time. Yeah, it was all breakfast.
This is very selfish. Did they have the hush puppies?
I'm trying to remember. I didn't order them, but I bet they were there. I don't know. I don't know
if the hush puppies are a perennial thing, though. I don't know if that's on their every seasonal menu they have.
Maybe
they had it. They had it in Australia, and I have to tell you, they were probably the best hush puppies I've had on the planet. And I don't even understand why. Like, I can't even I can't.
Yeah, you know, the Australian hush puppies. Feeling. You know, it's traditional, right? It's those Aussies. They know their hush puppies.
Oh man, yeah.
I was just astonished. Like the corn, the airiness.
Oh yes.
Anyway, I'm distracting from your experience. Sorry.
We got Arabic coffee from Japan, and we got hush puppies from Australia. You know.
I think
it's a good thing we're not. Trevor, don't start any food blogs, please.
We are a diverse podcast. We have a diverse coverage of topics.
I think I had that when I was in Sydney too. Those are really good. I definitely didn't have it in London, but I don't know if it was on the menu. But I wasn't really looking for that. I was definitely looking for that squid.
Everybody talks about that. Mm-hmm. Every single person that I know that has ever been to a Qantas lounge says salt and pepper squid you must have. And so I'm glad that you had it. And is it as good as they say?
It's solid.
That's too long a pause. It's too long a pause.
He paused.
That's too long a pause.
Geez, yeah.
It's solid, but I don't think it's like extraordinary. Let's put it that way. But I would say the thing that you get at the Qantas lounge, if you can get it, and this isn't this is in Australia, is the pavlova dessert, right? And
I know that's the. I was waiting for you to mention that. Did they have that in the London lounge?
Again, I didn't check because
Okay,
I don't know. I just wasn't.
it's early in the morning, a little early for pavlova.
Yeah. So,
Oh
but
my God,
you got to have
I'm
that.
missing out. So we talked last episode on my experience in Sydney.
Yeah.
I did not get that dessert.
Why did you not?
I didn't know.
You were there you were there for the breakfast time too, right? Weren't you? Was it that kind of early?
Yeah, but on the way out, I was at the LAX Sydney Lounge.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even know that was a dessert to get. I mean, I had two opportunities. I missed out on both.
I don't know if the pavlova's in the LAX Qantas Lounge though.
Yeah, I'm not.
It might not be.
I know it was in the Melbourne and the Sydney one.
Pavlova was put on my radar again. I'm going back to like making friends, right? It was from Ben from No Mas Coach. He said, "Look, you gotta get this pavlova," and I was like, and my flight got delayed, and so it switched over to lunch, and I was able to go back and scarf that down, and that was incredible. So, yeah, do that. But I don't know if it was in London or not. I wasn't paying attention. Sorry.
Did you make it to the Cathay Lounge at T3?
I did. That was the last one. I was like, that was the last one I wanted to get to, and everyone said, if you're going to do one lounge in T3, that's the one to go to. And so I hit that, and they have Asian breakfast, right? They have like noodles and dim sum type stuff, and it was really tasty. I don't think it's quite as tasty as it is in Hong Kong, and really made me miss Hong Kong. Like I haven't been there in a long time. I was recently in Macau, but I didn't get over to Hong Kong when I was there. So I hope to get back and, maybe in Cathay, actually, they got that new business class product now. That's
as soon as they release some Alaska space, I'm there. But they haven't been doing that either.
Oh, okay.
Every so often you see little bits from, what is it? Find Flights for Me. But I don't know if it's on that new product.
Okay.
The Aria Suite or something?
Yeah, the Aria Suite. It's funny. I have a trip report from Ben that I've opened. I just haven't had the chance to look at it. And he had just recently done it. And then I think he had also recently stayed at that St. Regis in Hong Kong. But yeah, just a plug for Find Flights for Me. They are really, really good. And I don't know what they get out of it other than fulfillment. But on Instagram, they're great. They'll shoot out alerts. And definitely have seen
for space for partners or just for space on Asia miles?
For space for anybody. I saw today they had today, a random day sometime ago. I will say that they had IAD to Munich availability from like July through August, and they give you dates. I mean, it's very similar to what you get from Spencer. It's very similar to what you get from Thrifty Traveler Premium. I don't know what they get out of it, but they get a lot of love from me. There's no fee. It's just on Instagram.
Okay.
And so have found a lot of great deals that way. And just another reason that social media really has a lot of great value, and you just need to create alerts for people. So like I get alerted every time Find Flights for Me posts, and just another tool in your in your toolbox.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm definitely right now.
So, Han, did you have any desire to visit the AA Lounge or the Centurion Lounge while you were in T3?
I didn't do the Centurion Lounge. I was in the AA Lounge briefly, but you can skip that. Honestly, it's kind of sad, really. It's just there isn't much to it.
Yeah, I can imagine the AA being the least interesting of the One World.
I mean, it was packed though. I was shocked by how packed it was. Yeah, that was another reason.
Did they have guacamole or cannoli bars?
I don't know. I didn't stick around very long in there, I have to say. So
both things I don't want to be eating in London Heathrow.
Yeah, I don't think that's what you want to do. Definitely not in Heathrow.
Oh, I had the best cannolis and guacamole in Heathrow.
I don't think so.
Next time on Trevor's Food Podcast.
But I have to say, I still do like their first class airline product. I know it's going to be gone soon. That was another reason I wanted to get on it, because it's going to disappear pretty soon. I think probably within a year, let's say maybe 18 months tops, right? So,
did you get the window and the swivel seat?
I did, and I like that swivel seat. It's kind of nerdy, but I like the swivel toward the window, and it's kind of fun. It's just one of those things. It's probably one of the worst products out there, like in terms of like compared to Emirates or obviously Etihad, but still, there's something to it that I like. I don't know why. I can't put my finger on it.
It's like fake homey. It's foamy.
Mhm.
For anybody that happens to recognize that from a particular movie. But no, I did the same thing. So last episode that we covered, we did Australia, and I paid 105.5 thousand points per person for my family to fly in American First. And we had that 777-300
Nice.
with that swivel seat, and I had really wanted to experience it one last time.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird things that, like, I guess us av geeks do. I think we ascribe emotions to seats and to products and stuff, and we just want to, experience.
One last time.
Yeah. And I know TK, you were trying to do that, but then, poor you got upgraded to Qantas first.
Oh my God.
I know the crosses I bear. Oh my.
Oh my. Do you have any idea how many tiny violins have played for him? My God, they lined the entire Tom Bradley International Terminal. Just tiny violins. Well, he had to take it for the team. And just trudge onto. That was a Qantas A380, right?
It was.
Yes. I can just imagine as you're going down the jetway. Oh,
I know.
Such a burden.
That was great for Tom, but also great for me in the sense that then Tom had something to talk about when we presented at the Chicago seminars last September together.
That's true. That was my one additional benefit.
Yeah.
That was unforeseen at the time.
Yeah, and that was really cool, Tom, that I got to finally meet you in person. And Trevor, I hope to get to meet you in person soon. I think
after many years, it's interesting. It took so long to actually meet in person.
Yeah.
Hey, are you going to make it down? So I think May
I'll be in Dallas, FTU Dallas.
Yeah, is that the May FTU?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be there. I don't know if I'll actually be at the FTU or not. I mean, I'm not presenting. I was invited, but I just couldn't accept that invitation. And I know you guys are marquee.
We're planning to speak.
Yeah, well, that's great.
Marquee. Oh, yeah. I'm nervous now.
I know. Don't have too high expectations.
We will be there. We will speak. We are excited to speak, but don't call us marquee.
No, but
it's not like we're Gary Leff or Ben Schlapig.
I know.
It's just really strong lineup, and I'm glad you guys are a part of it. And I plan to be there. I know Vegas Teenager.
Oh yeah,
he's helping to organize it quite a bit. So
I got to tell you, he's been pretty incredible. I mean, you talk about a young guy who really is just leaning forward. And I've really been impressed. I'm happy to support the event. I've had the chance to participate in those FTUs for many, many years. Candidly, I had gotten so much out of the old FTUs back when Ben and Gary and others had done those big events. I still remember an incredible, it was a fun time in Tampa. They did something completely unscripted, and I will never forget it. And Tom, I think you were there too, as well.
No, I wasn't at the Tampa one. I was not at the Tampa one. But, we had our origin story at FTU, of course.
We did, but let me give the Tampa story then, since you weren't there. And I know Tracy, another friend of ours, was there. They had this unscripted where I think Scott McKenzie was pouring like Gentleman Jack or something, and Gary and Ben both did live bookings that they, just put the microphone to. And Gary did something for like Delta where I think they were trying to book Saudia, and it was like some random thing, and like Delta didn't know where the Black Sea was. It was just some completely random. And then Ben did something where it was US Airways. This is back when US Airways actually existed.
Yeah.
And he was trying to book a flight from Japan to LAX onward to the East Coast. And the US Airways person is like, but you can't do that. That's time travel. Like I just, some of these memories are just so cool. Precious in just the uniqueness. And so I'm really excited for this FTU in Dallas, but Vegas Kid or
Vegas Teenager.
Vegas Teenager, I should say. I'm sorry. I apologize if you're listening. But he has really taken on that moniker and really trying to bring back the greatness of FTU. And I'm incredibly excited. I'm also incredibly hopeful that we can get to that level. I think just so many people are going to benefit from it, because that period where I feel like a lot of people are more and more interested in this community and haven't had that chance to really get into the weeds other than Chicago seminars. Other than that, like, we haven't had like a big, huge event.
Mhm.
And so, again, I'm excited. I'll stop talking. Excited that hopefully you'll make it, and definitely excited to talk.
No, I got flights booked. I haven't booked my FTU ticket quite yet, but I'm probably going to do it in a couple days. And
I got to book my tickets.
Wait, I thought you were talking.
What do you mean?
I thought you were talking at it.
Oh yeah, but I don't have trip there.
I'm not
talking. You said you'd take care of mine.
I'm not talking.
You guys
are talking. You guys take care of yours.
Tickets there. So
okay, well,
I'm hoping
it has not been taken care of yet.
I'm hoping there's going to be a nice hotel discount at the conference hotel. So waiting for that to post. So
let me caveat: I have no idea whether or not we're covered for our flights or not.
Okay,
just have to make our flights. I make a lot of assumptions. We'll figure that out. Either way, Tom and I will be there, and
nice.
we'd love to see you there.
Yeah, that would be cool.
We have fun.
I want to say, if you indulge me a little bit, one thing I kind of want to close this with, or at least like my observations, at least as far as like the award travel goes, like in premium products. I've been seeing a lot of stuff online. People really getting into that A350 1000 gel first class experience, because people are getting into that, and that's like one of the newer products, right? And fortunately, I was able to get on it myself shortly after it debuted. And while I enjoyed it and while it was fun, I have to say, you can't beat the A380 for first class travel, in my opinion. And that's not just because I was on the Residence or just because I was on EK First. It's just so large, spacious, luxurious. It takes me back to what I think might have been that kind of glamorous first class travel back when, And a small A350 just cannot do that. I don't care how good the hard product is. It's not going to be as glamorous because it's not going to be as big.
Yep.
And I'm sure, vloggers can tout that all they want, but this trip for me confirmed the kind of primacy of the A380 as far as first class travel goes. And people should seek that out. And even though these products are kind of old now, they're still great. And I hope they stick around for a long, long time.
So your position, if I could try to restate it, is that the semi-public spaces lend itself to a greater luxurious experience rather than a more super premium seat like the Game Changer or the A350 on gel. Is that a fair characterization?
That's a little different than what I was saying, but I think that's still, I would agree with what you said. I mean, I think that like on the A380, you got on Emirates, for example, you got the bar in the back. You're interacting with business people or business class people, but that's great. It's fun. It's fun to meet with different people. And the bathroom stuff is the lav with the shower is great. It's massive, like we were talking about earlier. Like that adds something to the experience. You cannot get that on the A350. It's just not going to be.
Even the takeoff. I mean, just the takeoff is so smooth.
That's right.
I mean, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it when the A380 is gone, because that's a unique experience taking off in an A380 where you're almost not moving, Well, at least compared to a lot of other airlines. I mean, just the way that it just takes off, just so much more gradual and smooth, and without kind of the same kind of lurching and whatever that you have on a standard wide body. It's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Well, and Emirates is trying to get Airbus to restart the product line.
Yeah.
And I really hope that is the case. I mean, when you think about it, we're still in a situation where there's just not enough slots, right? You got London Heathrow. Will they get a third runway? Will they not? Who knows, right? But they still have capacity. And even if they get a third runway, they're still going to be at capacity. And the reality is that you need to do more seats per rotation to be able to meet the demand.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
there's so many.
I think Airbus's
airlines.
plan was like, Airbus's plan for the 380 was right. It's just, it was about 20 years too early because they were thinking about all this huge hub to hub flying that people were going to do. And we went the other direction. We went to a lot of this, thin and light, 787, A350 kind of flying. But
I kind of disagree with you. I mean,
you do? Okay.
I agree and I disagree.
Agree to disagree?
Okay. So let me say it this way. Yes, the 787 opened up a ton of long, thin routes. San Francisco to Chengdu is an absolutely perfect example, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was never going to be an A380. That was never going to be a 747. Had the pandemic not happened, we would have probably seen the A380 continue to be built, right? The pandemic happened.
I'm going to disagree with you on that. No, I don't think the pandemic is what killed it.
Air France.
They got rid of it before the pandemic. Yeah.
Air France did it during the pandemic at the start, right?
They planned it before the pandemic.
I thought
I'm correct on that.
Okay.
Well, whatever the case, they certainly accelerated retirement of the A380s as a result of the pandemic. Okay. Right? So we can agree on that.
So then hear me out.
Yeah.
We come back to revenge travel.
Yeah.
Who's bringing the A380s back? Lufthansa brought the A380 back. Lufthansa even had to bring back the A340s. There is not enough capacity for the demand. There was not enough capacity for the demand. And I dare say that we still don't have enough capacity. If American or United or Delta could pull on some A380s, I almost think that they probably would be flying them down to Cancun. Or would have been flying them to Cancun or to some other destinations. I really, truly believe that we're in a situation, and if our listeners disagree, I'm more than willing to take fire. But I still think that we're in a situation.
Your hosts disagree.
Oh, yeah. I still think that, and maybe this is going to change in the next 6 months, but we've been in a situation for the last, 3.5 years where we don't have enough wide body capacity, right? I mean, we have enough narrow body capacity, so much so that United.
I don't think we have enough narrow body. I don't think we have enough narrow body capacity.
Okay, then why is United flying to Mongolia from Japan, and why are they flying to, is it Nuuk, Greenland, on narrow bodies, right? Like, they're literally throwing at a dartboard. They must have enough narrow bodies.
I think that's a function of their capacity from their airframe perspective. But I mean, you already know that 321s and 737s aren't being delivered at the rate that they're expected, or what they were originally ordered at.
Well, the 321s have the engine issue, which is hurting JetBlue, which is hurting a number of other airlines. I get that, but it still feels like there's just not enough capacity in the system. And if there was an A380 line that was still going, I feel like airlines might have been a little bit more receptive to adding an A380 to their lineup, is just my argument. And again, I'm not the air show. I'm not an expert. I'm just, here on the fringes watching what looks like shortages in different areas. So you disagree? Oh, go ahead,
Tom. I'd love to hear Tom. I mean, this is like Dot's Lines destinations area, which is not where this is not where I'm at. So
yes, this is their area, but this is like without anything near Seth or Faz or Steven's expertise.
This is one step below in terms of knowledge.
We're like throwing pencils at the ceiling and seeing what sticks. So go ahead, Tom.
Well, no, I just think it's just capacity constraint overall, because it doesn't matter what kind of airline it is, because every single airline was expecting more Maxes, more 321s, more 777-9s. They were expecting lots of different airframes. Any 999s, yeah. So they've been expecting all kinds of, and hence why the 380s are coming out of the mothball. Hence why the 340s are still flying. Hence why Air Canada brought back a 767. Why are there all these old airframes coming back
But if they
online.
hadn't stopped, or if they restarted that A380 line, people would be coming for them. I'm convinced airlines would be like, "Hey, maybe it's time to take us to
I don't
bring
think
a 380
Delta will never buy a double decker airline again. Probably. I think that maybe the time is coming because, again, I mean, Emirates is a special case, right? They'll buy any A380 anytime, anywhere, as soon as they make them, right? But they're probably the only ones that really have that really, really strong case.
Mm.
But at the same time, you've got other carriers out there. Maybe someone like British. I could see British Airways wanting to potentially buy something with a higher capacity just because of, like you said, the Heathrow problems.
The limitations of Heathrow, absolutely, they would be looking for that.
Yeah.
I mean, perhaps
I
even
would
Air
say,
France might be thinking, I'm surprised Air France isn't bringing them back, but maybe they're
not even mothballed. I think they were like, some were actually even destroyed.
Did they go back to, there was like the Vanilla or Air or Sky something, or maybe that was the Singapore A380s that went to that.
You mean for High Fly?
Yeah, High Fly. That's it. Mm.
I can read Trevor's mind after he says enough words. It'll eventually come out.
Well, that's how long we've been doing this. That's how long we've been friends. Not even doing the podcast. Like, folks, this is a situation. We're sitting having a beverage, and I'll say a few words, and he can finish my sentence almost better than my wife.
At least on aviation stuff. I don't know if I could help you on a lot of other things, but
I think you're right though, Trevor, insofar as this, like from what I've read, the A380s, like Korean is committed to keeping them around, and obviously BA is, because they're gonna put the new seat on there. That's the first new first class seat.
That's exciting.
So like as far as commitment to keeping that around, a lot of airlines are still doing that now. It's a shame that there aren't going to be any new ones made, but maybe this A380 Neo plan will come to pass. We'll see. But
I'm skeptical.
Yeah,
I'm skeptical.
Okay. That's just the economics doesn't work out. Is that what you're saying?
It's just I don't know. I mean, they'd have to get a good number of orders, I think, in order to like restart an airplane program like that.
Yeah,
and I know Emirates will buy a lot. But they were willing to do that before, so nothing's really changed. It's kind of the same. They were ready to buy, I don't know, whatever the number of airframes was, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm skeptical, but I'm also looking at the capacity restraints, right? So Reagan National, after that horrific mid-air crash, I think in the last couple of days, they said that they're going to restrict the number of rotations or cycles, whatever you want to call them, right? Landings and takeoffs. I think what you're going to find is that we're past revenge travel, but air travel hasn't slowed down. Demand hasn't slowed down. And the reason that the A380 came to be is because we were looking at JFK, we were looking at London, Hong Kong, Tokyo, although Tokyo is a weird example because they got Haneda now, that's more open. LAX and others where they just didn't have enough takeoff and landing slots to meet the demand. Yes, the 787 and the A350 are providing much more ability in the long, thin routes, which are generally more profitable, it seems, with a 787 and a 350. But I still feel strongly that there are some routes, JFK London, perhaps even London to Dubai and a handful of others, that you just have to have that double decker, because otherwise you're not going to be able to meet the demand, and you're certainly not going to be able to have enough slots to do it.
I would agree with some of those marquee routes, but you have to also think about one other side of aviation is, you've seen the mass exodus of CRJ 200s, right? And you've seen the upgauging of kind of the other side of the market where, you see fewer and fewer like ERJ 145s, you see fewer 737 300s and or 700s and 400s, everything's now a max, 8 or a max 9. You have seen an upgauge on narrow body at the low end, strangely enough, I think, at least domestically here in the US and probably elsewhere, as they've moved on to like 321s and Embraer E-jets and things like that have more seats on them, right? But you're maybe not seeing it on the top of the market. You're just seeing it from the bottom up.
That's an interesting comment, too, because Southwest is losing a ton of money because they can't get a MAX 7. So their 700s, they're flying 800s or MAX 8s. in
Yeah, there's too
markets
many
that they'd
seats.
rather have a MAX 7 or a 700. So yeah, you raise a really interesting point, and there is that kind of upgrade on the narrow bodies, but I don't know. I still think there's significant inefficiencies in the overall capacity market. I'll say it. And we're not going to solve this problem just chatting here. And unfortunately,
I feel you channeling like your armchair CEO of an airline where they don't have the right aircraft for the right market for the right time, and many of them don't right now. I imagine a lot of them are frustrated by this and their, capacity planning and whatever. So
my God, we hear about it, and it's so cool to hear about it. I mean, I hate to say I don't want to keep this conversation going.
I know you guys are getting like
I think we're getting nerdy.
Travel trip and the dots, lines, and destination episode all in one.
Right. But it's exciting and it's cool, right? Like, I mean, we've heard the airline CEOs talking about this. We hear it on the air show. We hear it on, oh my gosh, there's another one that has Scott McCartney, I think, and I can't remember the name. We hear about all this stuff, and it's cool to be able to chat about it on our small little podcast. But I don't want to distract from the fact that this was a whirlwind trip that you had, Han.
Yeah.
And you had so many cool different experiences, and we're just so incredibly appreciative.
Very jealous.
You took the time to share them with us.
I appreciate that.
And share time with us.
No, it was great. I really enjoyed talking to you guys about this stuff and getting a little lesson on aircraft capacity, airline capacity, and all. I do follow this.
Let's not call this a master class or anything. This was weekend ramblings.
No, it's cool to talk about this.
Armchair quarterbacking.
No, for sure.
Yes, very much so.
I realize that. Let me just put this out there. Like, the way we get to travel is always like it's a huge privilege that we able to do this, and it's never lost on me. My opportunities to do this is going to be a little bit fewer and far between in the coming months for sure, and maybe a year or so. We'll see. I don't really know what my next goal is or whatever. Like you guys are probably gonna ask, like, what are you gonna fly next? I mean, I'm gonna fly some, Virgin Atlantic premium, whatever, the upper class thing a couple times in the next couple months because of the, they went to that dynamic pricing and all that, and that got some good deals there. But outside of that, I'm gonna be quiet for a while. And because of that, I went all out, and it was really fun. And I did a lot of like the old classics, that's kind of what I did. And that's what I'm into.
I love it.
That's what I'm into. And I hope people really are into the A350 and whatever. And I think that's a cool plane. I'm not going to knock it. I'm just saying it just doesn't deliver my idea of what first class should be. And I think people should just get on those A380s while they still can. Don't take it for granted is what I'm saying,
Agreed. Yeah. The 350s are going to be around for a long time.
Yeah.
So take your chances to fly your A380s while it's still around because, and even the 340s and some of these other aircraft, 787s. You got
to get the A340s. I mean, they're not going to be around for long.
No, 340-600, I got to get that on Lufthansa first class. I know you were down.
Don't forget to check out the LAVs.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to hearing those stories. I know that might air before this one airs, but I want to hear your A380 and A340 Lufthansa first class stories. You guys probably have a ton of those.
Yes, that has been in the backlog. We will eventually record that probably in March.
Yeah, we're overdue. We're overdue talking about that.
We are overdue. Hopefully, hey, maybe even one day we can all catch up in some far-flung destination.
That would be really cool.
So one last topic I wanted to cover before we depart. So you flew, I can't even count how many first-class experiences here. You had Emirates Game Changer, you had Emirates A380, you had Etihad residences. I'm actually really curious of what they gave you for the Etihad residences. And I'm also curious how you handle all that first class swag. TK and I have strategies, and we'll share them. But we want to know what you said, what your experience was.
Okay, so I traveled super light. I was trying to be team carry-on, but you can't. I couldn't end up doing that toward the end because I had too much crap from, I'm sorry, not crap, but luxurious swag. It was a lot. Because Emirates gives you a ton of stuff, and obviously the residents, they give you this huge
They even give you a bag to carry it all with.
That's right. And it did come in handy. Yeah, I think I definitely left some space. I've learned over the years to leave space in
Absolutely.
the luggage to account for this, right? So you do that, and you might end up having. And I brought an extra bag actually because I knew that I might have to end up checking something in toward the end because I just would have too much stuff. So that's been my strategy. But like at some point, it gets a little ridiculous, honestly. I think I left some stuff behind, which I usually don't do, but like I left some Turkish amenity kit behind because I was like, look, I can't. I'm not. I know what's coming, and I can't carry all of this. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Well, and the other advantage of you checking it is that you don't have, the security agent in Kuwait, open up, every single one of your
Oh,
Lufthansa amenity kits, of which I had like, I think 8 or something ridiculous. And he's like, do you have to open all of those? And he's like,
uh,
rip, rip, zip, unzip, unzip.
you are.
Ouch.
You're talking about Kuwait. I hope I never have to go through there again. They are stringent and not
They are
exactly
stringent.
not very courteous and not very kind. I have to say. So
No.
that's been my experience with the airport staff. That's just security, whatever. I'm sure the rest of the people are nice, but not at the airport.
I'll share a little story. My wife and I flew way before we had our daughter. We flew to, I think it was Bali, and we flew Emirates via Dubai and then Singapore. And then we flew, I think, Singapore to Bali. And then we flew Thai up to Bangkok. And then we were flying Bangkok on the old wet leased 777. What was that airline? Oh my gosh, there was an airline in India that Thai had a wet lease for. It wasn't Vistara. It wasn't. Anyway.
Kingfisher, or maybe was it? Jet Airways. Jet Airways.
Yeah, it was Jet Airways. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so they had the beautiful suites with the doors and everything. And so we walk on, and I had like, the little clips and all that other stuff. Each of us had 2 of those Emirates little bags that they give you because you had the pajamas, you had all these other things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you had the amenity kits, you had the writing kits, all that other stuff, and then you had the Singapore whatever those amenities and everything. And so we walked on, and we effectively looked like flight attendants with the amount of bags like attached to our primary bag.
Yeah.
And the flight attendant, as we walked on, because we walked on the 1L, and he looks at us and he's like, "Oh, you must be Americans." And it was one of those like, I feel so seen. And so the cabin was empty. It was just us, which was even more hilarious because like they gave us an actual seat to put all of our bags in, and we didn't put it in the overhead. We just literally rolled our bags, my wife and I, into one of the seats, and they just closed the door. And then they gave us another set of pajamas. And we're like, you're just adding to the amount of stuff that we're carrying. It was really kind of funny. Maybe that's lost on you guys, but
No.
I got a kick out of that.
I get it. It gets to be a bit much, but I gave away so much at the Chicago seminars, and I think those are good venues where you can give it to people who haven't had that experience yet, and because honestly, how many are you going to actually use? Probably not that many. So,
and that's such a great point. I mean, like my wife loves the Cathay Pacific pajamas. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, I think she's worn through a bunch because they only last so long. I'm the same way with the Lufthansa pajamas, although the Lufthansa pajamas of yesteryear are not the same as the Lufthansa pajamas now. I was actually joking with Tom. I happen to find my Japan Airlines pajamas, and I can't remember if you've flown them recently, Han.
Mm-hmm.
The Japan Airlines top legitimately looks like a sweater. Like I was wearing it for probably a week, not nonstop, but like, on and off. I'm wearing this thing for a week. And then at one point I take it off and I look and I'm like, why does it have a Japan Airlines sticker on it? And I'm like, oh my God, this is like a Japan Airlines pajama. And I'm like, and I'm wearing it like a sweater, but like it was really, it breathes well. And I'm like, well, okay, fine. I'm going to keep wearing it.
Nice.
Have you tried the set that I gave you yet? The Cathay set?
No, I have it. I have it though. I mean, I'm definitely going to.
Okay.
I'm definitely going to try it. I don't.
Oh,
they are
God,
very nice.
Cathay is amazing.
I prize those. So,
especially during the wintertime, they're nice lounging around pants and things. Especially when it's nice and cold.
Well, gentlemen, I fear to say that this may be our longest podcast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this one's pretty long.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry if it was me, but I.
No. I blame Trevor.
Okay.
You know something? As long as our listeners enjoy it,
Yeah.
then in my opinion, it's a win.
I agree. It was a good episode.
Yeah.
I think we've laid out an incredible collection of experiences.
Yeah.
I think we've gotten a little bit into AvGeek stuff. We've gotten a little bit into, I guess, aircraft manufacturing. That,
Fleet management.
Maybe none of us expected. Yeah. I think we covered a lot of great topics. Is there anything that we missed that you wanted to cover before we close it out there, hon?
Let me look at the list. I don't think so, though.
Oh, you know what? I see one thing as you're looking at your list.
Yeah.
We occasionally talk about other podcasts.
Yeah.
Not badly, not
Oh,
possibly.
yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
We totally give Dots, Lines, Destinations and Air Show podcast total kudos. Total kudos.
I thought you weren't going to plug them anymore.
I changed my mind. Captain's prerogative. So one podcast that I saw that you posted about, and I have to be honest with you, I listen to them occasionally, and I get a lot of entertainment. But I wanted to get your feeling on the air travel podcast layovers.
Oh, yeah. I brought those guys up to you the last time I was on, and they're definitely...
Oh, you did? I forgot.
Yeah, that was...
I've been listening on and off.
Yeah, with Paul, the Swiss guy, Paul, and then Alex, who's an American.
Yes, the French guy.
Yeah, they're both living in London. Yeah, those guys are great. I mean, they have very long-form podcast episodes, and they really know their stuff. Like, they're very passionate about aviation, obviously, and very knowledgeable. I think Alex's dad used to work for Cathay, if I'm not mistaken. So, and I think Paul has been having guests come in for Alex a couple times. One of them is a friend of mine, Hakan. He's LA Flyer on Twitter.
I follow him.
Yeah, LA Flyer. So we've hung out a couple times, and he's great. So I thank the podcast just for making me, connect with a new friend. But anybody who's into aviation, they should listen to those guys. They're great. They're awesome.
But definitely long form. I listen to them, but I'll be honest with you, there are times where I have to listen to them, and then I duck back to other things, and then I duck back to them.
Sure.
Just because they are really long form. Although I'm calling the kettle black because we're north of 2 hours on this one.
Yeah.
Normally we're not this long form, but But Han, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Please share with our listeners, how can they find you?
You can find me at Han Chicago on Instagram and Twitter X. Those are where I hang out the most. I'm also on Blue Sky, but so far it's been a little bit disappointing as far as the engagement there goes. But I don't know. I know some of the aviation geeks have immigrated over there because they've left Twitter X, but it's good.
Well, and I'm going to do a little bit of a plug. So I emigrated over to Blue Sky. I mean, I'm still on Twitter and other places. But when I jumped on Blue Sky, I followed Seth Miller.
Yeah.
And Seth has just an incredible grouping of all of us that have jumped over to Blue Sky. Mm-hmm. And so when a new person jumps on to Blue Sky, he sends 2 different lists of AvGeek and Myland Point related people that you probably want to listen to or follow. And so I think that really helps. I think that really helps kind of getting up started on Blue Sky. It still feels like a community that's taken a little bit of time to get started, but I try to spend some time on there. Mm-hmm. I'm not spending as much time as Twitter, but I'm trying to be more intentional there. Not political, just because I noticed that a lot of our friends and AvGeeks are moving over there, and I don't want to lose touch with them.
Yeah, for sure. Is that it?
Oh, man.
So we're going to go for another hour.
Well, I was giving Tom a chance to comment, and then I was going to close it out. But gosh, if you want, I'll just close it out. Wow. Ouch.
I think the signal has been made.
I'm sorry. I'm starting to fade.
I mean, it's a long episode. I get it. Okay, well, that's the show. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed listening.
If you've enjoyed this episode, consider becoming a Milenomics Patreon member and get access to even more in-depth miles, points, and travel content. Melbourne, by the way, everyone, go ahead and drink. Oh, Melbourne, go ahead. Oh, wait, no. Lufthansa First Class. Sorry.
Yeah, whatever he said. Until then, we hope your next story is a travel story.